Welcome to another edition of a Web Chat with the Warden. I'm Shelby Knox, and I'm joined by Warden Mayberry. How are you today, sir?
Very good, thanks. It's a beautiful day. The beginning of the outdoor farm show. Everything is wonderful in Oxford, I think.
It is perfect weather for the beginning of the outdoor farm show. Now, we have a few issues coming up at Council that I wanted to discuss with you. The first one being large article collection. Now, there was just an audit from Public Works, and they found $180,000 issue there. What's happening there?
Okay, well, the request from Council was to look at the large item pickup and to try and establish what was the amount of stuff being picked up that actually should either have gone out in garbage or should have been was recyclable and that we could reclaim, and was there any value in trying to reclaim that material. And so they did, during the middle of the large item pickup across the county, they did a couple of audits on what came in and explored sort of what was the possibility with certain items. So they took part of a truckload, tore it all down, and then decided what was reclaimable, what wasn't, and I think the numbers were about 7% of it would have been recyclable, and the rest would have ended up in landfill because of various issues. And one being that wood from furniture and stuff is painted or is varnished or whatever, and therefore can't go into the organics pile. So when they did the estimates and sort of figured out the amount of time and effort it would take, the number they came up with was that it would probably cost about $180,000, and that the amount of landfill space we'd save is probably it's just not economically viable, and that we probably, if we're going to invest that kind of money, we probably should be looking at other things that would be more advantageous to the county. So,
are we talking about an education issue here then?
Well, I think there's two things. One is for sure is the actual material itself. What's coming, and is there other uses for it? And the other one is around helping both the collectors and the public know what is acceptable, what could be recycled in other ways, and what is acceptable to be put out for large item, and to make sure that we're not putting recyclables out in large item, and also that the large item is actually just for large item and not for regular household garbage.
Okay. Now, another issue that caught my attention was regarding the reserve policy and amendments possibly that could be coming there. The phrase that caught my attention was realignment of reserves to meet future demands. Is there an idea of what those future demands would be, and how much are we talking about realigning here?
Okay, so the county council had asked the corporate services to look at the reserve policy and to explore what are the issues and where are we doing well, where we're not doing well. And as you look at the reserves every year, you realize that some reserves have excess money in them and some have a little bit less, and don't have enough in, actually. And so the idea was, should we shift some of that money around? It's all county money, paid for by the taxpayers, and so should we move more into roads and bridges and out of other things? And so the staff have brought forward a report. Part of it is to realign the money, and part of it is to re-examine again as we move forward. What amount of money should be in reserve for each particular area, and that's really money that you save up in advance to pay for something in the future. So water, wastewater. Well, we pay for it as we go along, and then as we get to a certain point where we need to replace something, then we have some of the money available. The question always is, how much do you want future generations to pay, and how much should we pay as we use up the value? And I think the asset management plan of the county is generally aimed at, as we use up the value, then we should replenish that, and whether that's putting money in reserve or replacing the asset, that's the purpose of the reserve policy.
Okay, and the last issue I wanted to talk to you about was potential changes to the Woodland bylaw. Now, we are looking at going into a public consultation period, perhaps. Mm-hmm. What are those changes proposed for the Woodland Conservation bylaw?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for people to understand that the reason you have a woodland conservation bylaw is to protect the woodlands of the municipality. Some of the issues, and kind of the immediate one, is the balance between the rights of the individual landowner to harvest the woodland as they choose, versus the greater rights of the community or the needs of the community to make sure that we're keeping enough natural vegetation cover to protect future generations. And we all know that we need the natural vegetation cover to absorb the carbon dioxide and to produce oxygen. So we want to keep a good tree cover. It also affects the microclimate and things like that. So we want good natural vegetation. We know that the county is right now only has about 16.5% natural cover. So probably we want to increase it. But we also need to do that balanced with the needs of the individual landowners. So we don't want to discourage the harvest of a natural resource, the harvest of trees. On the other hand, we want to make sure that we protect the woodland for future generations. So there's a balance. And the conservation bylaw, we've had one for more than 60 years now, is about trying to get that balance right. And we always know that changing culture, changing demands, you kind of lean a little bit one way, then you kind of lean a little bit the other. And it's always sort of trying to get it closer to being the right balance for the community at this particular time. And so the bylaw proposed by the planning department, the request is that it go out to the public and have public. So there'll be people that want more conservation, there'll be people that want less restrictive rules, and we want to make sure that the public gets a chance to have their say, and then it'll come back to council for maybe redrafting or final edit.
All right. Well, all those issues are coming to Oxford County Council this week. Thank you so much for joining me once again,
Glad
Warden.
to be here.
It's great to have you, and it's great to be back. I'm Shelby Knox. This is Warden Mayberry, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Web Chat with the Warden. We'll see you next time.